Alrighty, boys and girls, good morning, good morning. How are we all doing? Nearly accidentally forgot about the stream this morning. I was getting the account set up, I was chilling on Discord, and then I was like, oh, snap, stream time. Right, boys and girls, let's get this on the road, shall we? Hope everybody had a good weekend. Hope everybody is well. I have not really played all that much, apart from a few hours where we did the stream on Saturday. But Decor seems to be doing remarkably well. I was online yesterday. I was tinkering. I've been messing around with some TSM stuff that we'll explore in a little bit more detail later. Trying to put some values together for more dynamic values for lumber, rather than just using guesswork. I've been sharing that with a few members of the community so far to try and clash heads on it to try and come up with a good solution. Basically, what I want to know is what is the most valuable lumber to actually go out and farm. Most players are probably not going to have enough time in the day to go out and farm everything for every profession from every lumber type, because you'll still probably be able to sell it quicker on the auction house than you're able to farm it up at the moment, which is very nice. But for as long as that lasts, it's kind of interesting to know what lumber you should go and actually farm. And I've tried to put some science to this. It's not exact science, but I'm kind of getting there. Although it does seem to have already... That's only showing 8 different types of lumber. This is my point. It's not perfect. It's actually not perfect. I know why it's now only showing it. It's because TSM clearly has forgotten data on some of the items. Or items have expired or something has gone out. I'm looking at the custom price sources here, by the way, in the tooltip. Ignore the rest of the tooltip. For example, you can see the Alemba lumber has a value of 1,100 gold. Probably because farming it is a touch more frustrating from what I've heard at. But we'll try and tinker with this a little bit more today at some point. But I've got to post some auctions. I got to set up decor within my flipping profile of TSM so that we can start building Ikea. That's the plan. We need to build Ikea. Monthly Arbitrage Limited is venturing into the furniture business. And to be able to do that, I need to have some stuff set up to both A, purchase said decor items, and then B, decide on where we take them and how we sell them and what approach we're going to take with this. So we will be tinkering with that a little bit today. Probably not too much actually farming of lumber. I kind of need to start switching away from the farming of lumber and more into flipping it, because I think that's where the money's actually at, isn't it? So, but we'll see, we'll see. IKEA sponsor incoming, discount codes, etc. Discount code at IKEA, if they give you a discount, they'd basically be paying you to take it away, surely. But yeah, wood needed for sure. How do the housing dyes actually work and how do you use them? Well, the dyes you can buy off the auction house. You can convert 10 pieces of herb into a pigment, and it's 1 pigment to 1 dye. There's an NPC. You can take your herbs to an NPC in the neighborhood, and there's a dye crafting station in the neighborhood. You need classic alchemy or classic inscription to be able to make the dyes. Or the alternative for most people is you can just buy the dyes on the auction house. This is the approach I think most are taking. No, that's the wrong mount, isn't it? Dyes are, what's the value of the dyes looking like? Housing dyes. Yeah, they're still sort of 40 to 90 gold a piece, and there's plenty of them, should we say. Plenty of them. Plenty of them. And these are on the these are sold on the region-wide auction house as well, so the competition on these is actually bananas. Whereas the decor is sold on individual realms. But we're starting to see Draenor is really starting to stock them up, you know. Oh, my TSM always has a heart attack when I open this window. TSM has a heart attack, but the decor, we're starting to see 3 figures on some of them. High 2 figures on a lot of them. But very interestingly, still single figures for quite a lot of the items. And in fact, I would probably go as far as to say there are some items on Draenor that don't actually even exist. Like a smoke lamp, there's 2 of them right now. How after nearly a week is there only like 2 of these on the auction house? It's kind of wild. But you can see now we are starting to see a lot of the stuff get absolutely trampled in value. So the value of farming it is going to drop off, I think, quite soon. And it will switch more heavily into flipping it, where there is plenty of stock to do such. Such as buying 15 of these and then taking them to 15 other realms and listing it for 10k a piece, you know. Forgot the Discord ping. I forgot everything this morning. I entirely forgot that I was even starting the stream. I was busy chatting away. Let me do exactly that, actually. Let me get the Discord ping out. Thank you for reminding me.
Is that your wallet? Or are you just glad to see me? Both, I hope.
Go down with the 3. Thank you very much. Good morning to you. Hope you're having a good Monday. I need to reload my UI, but I need TSM to come out and do an update. This happens every time I hover over certain items. With the Undermine Exchange also down at the moment. They've been having some server issues by the sounds of things. Convenient timing, I know, but with Undermine Exchange being down at the moment, even the flipping side of things starts to get a bit sketchy because it's difficult to gauge without the Undermine Exchange just where the cheapest ones are located. I would imagine Draenor, Kazakh, and probably Argent Dawn are like silly both quantities and also potentially prices. But I need to relist auctions today at some point anyway, so if I can get my TSM profile set up, flipping at least in rough fashion before that, then we might be alright. Oh, I've just realised I don't need to do patron orders ever again, which is a nice position to be in. 2 minutes before the end of the expansion. Why can't I click on that? Hello? Okay, maybe I really do need to reload my UI. Argent Dawn is the top in amount of decor available. Some prices are cheap, some are not. Yeah, that's good. That's going to be the same all over the place, isn't it? Where's the Ikea cam? Well, puppy cam is enough for now. Puppy cam's enough just for now, but we'll see. Also getting TSM errors, but I have a feeling they start to care less and less about TSM. Well, the TSM guys are aware of a few things. They're aware of things. They need to put a little bit of an update out and poke around a few things, it looks like, but I'm already starting to consider taking the crafted decor that I still have to sell, and I'm already considering just distributing it rather than trying to all sell it on Draenor. I got 2 options. I either take the crafted decor that I still have and just cancel scan until it's gone and just stack it high, sell it cheap, or I just take it, throw it in the war bank and distribute it and use it to start off the flipping, throwing Ikea. Haven't quite decided. To be honest, I've only got about 1 million gold worth of crafted decor left. I've not got a huge amount of it. I've certainly not been anywhere near as proactive with farming decor as some people. I know some people have made 2, 3, 4, 5 million gold off decor so far. You've also probably put in the hours farming. I just have not. I just have not. I've spent a lot more time tinkering with TSM groups, making TSM related stuff for the long term. Back to that in a minute then. Ah, now you're going to work good. Mr. Elon, how we doing? Talking of somebody that's been absolutely smashing it, you've made bank over the last few days by the sounds of things with the decor. October 23rd, 2024 was their last update. Well, there's in terms of like a big update patch thing. Also, where'd you get that info from? Because don't forget they update the add-on via the TSM app. It means what you get off like CurseForge or something is not to be used or relied on. I went multi-realm even on Saturday. Some stuff is selling, some servers are dead. Okay. Managed to hit my goal of 10 mil yesterday. Might slow down and chill now a bit, but we'll see. Working now, so I can only lurk. 10 mil already, flipping out. That's probably 10 times the amount of farming I've done then. Fair play. Nice little earner just before a new expansion. An extra 10 million in your back pocket is very good. Need a server where decor actually sells. It sells at see, this is the thing. It sells wherever you list it. The issue is it's an absolute cancel scan fiesta right now. You can sell a lot of it very quickly on the big servers, but you do have to babysit it. We're like, just crazy levels of deja vu here, because it's like we're talking about Shadowlands Legendaries again. And the irony for me is that some of the prices are not far off what Shadowlands Legendaries were either. It's kind of, it's almost PTSD. It's I'm almost yeah, I'm having severe flashbacks. You can see on Draenor, right, if I was to use my flipping profile as it stands right now, I would not be competitive on any of the prices on Draenor. So many posting at minimums because the price that's currently at is way below the regional sale average on Draenor, which does indicate to me that Draenor's not a bad place to actually buy up some decor and take it to other places, but I got to be a little bit careful with how we approach this because the markets are spiraling. Region market average value down 15%, down 4%, down 7%, up 7%, down 10%, down 13%. So prices are not exactly stable. Prices are still going down, and that's to be expected. We expected this. I do actually expect that to be the case quite a bit. Question is do I want to post them on Draenor? Let's just get these posted for now, so at least they're on the auction house. Vendor mats and intermediates are like 10 to 100 times the normal price, but nobody cares because wood farming is still worth more. Well, yeah, it will be. When you look at like the crafting cost of any single item, Gilnean spare saddle uses 12 pieces of ashwood lumber, which is valued currently at about 8,500 gold, whereas the rest of the items are like 2,000 gold. So yeah, 80% of the cost of every item is purely in the farming of the lumber. Which yeah, means that the basic materials are so cheap, it's genuinely not even really worth most people paying attention to them right now. How often does TSM update the regional average, by the way? Well, hourly. The region average might be a daily update. Region market average value might be a daily update, but market value is hourly. DB recent is hourly. It depends on what. It depends more so not on how frequently they update it, but what data it's based on. So market value is a 14-day rolling average, which at the moment basically means you just flat out ignore it. Because there's not even 14 days of data for decor. I would realistically only use DB recent value and DB region sale average as the two to give you some sort of indication of what you're doing with decor. Sale average is based on sales data, so arguably it's the only one you can actually go off to sort of determine, well, what does this thing actually sell for? But of course, it's an average of the last 7 days, and it means there's probably some sales that are very spicy day one, and sales today are maybe not so spicy, you know? Flipping's been good so far. Got in early, fast-moving market requires quite a bit of risk to be taken, but it's kind of hella fun if you know what you're doing. Yeah, this is why I'm thinking more to switching into just buying up some cheap stuff, taking it other places, flipping it that way, then going through those realms more frequently. My flipping up until now has been a once every 48 hours thing. I might drop it down to once every 24 hours, and in fact for decor I might do it, you know, just 12-hour listings, just so that I can check it basically twice a day. Check it in the morning, check the realms in the morning, relist on those realms, check for any deals in the morning, and then do a repost 13 hours later. And so, you know, you can kind of always bounce around. Maybe I've not quite decided yet, but flipping does seem. I think we're at the point where we might start seeing some good deals. I think we'll start seeing the big realms stack up the stock high enough now, and for people to get itchy enough to actually buy some of it up. But let me grab my coffee. Hang on, please hold. Please hold. Elma's chilling. You can see Solo's feet. That's about as much as you're gonna see of Solo. Big stretch. Elma's chilling on the rug. Apple's in her bed. Nipsu's on the other side, but she's harder to point the camera at. What was I wanting to do here? There was a reason I came to crafting table. Oh yeah, I was intrigued to see if there's any actual crafting orders for this sort of stuff. Negative. I'm not doing regular patron orders. Just seeing if there was any. Has anybody had any success crafting decor via the order system? I don't check it anywhere near enough to like it be any more than just pure luck. But with the fact that people can put in orders would lead me to believe that some people maybe are. I need to put... In fact, I need to see how much lumber I've got. I need to craft with the lumber that I've got. That's what I need to do. I need to burn through my stockpile of lumber right now. I wouldn't necessarily call it a stockpile, but I need to use it. I need to go through and use whatever lumber I have actually got. Because having it sat in the bank is a waste, isn't it? Let's be real. I mean, there's 500,000 gold plus of lumber in my war bank right now that should be probably used before I try and do anything else. I've finally now set up my TSM groups a little bit differently for lumber as well. I've actually grouped everything by the lumber that they use. This allows me to then more closely target what I want to craft. Since having to bounce between all 11 different lumber types to farm up a few things to fulfill a crafting list was annoying. And so in scenarios like this, where I've actually got... I've got like... Here, for example, I've got 194 bamboo lumber. I just need to use bamboo lumber. What can I craft with bamboo lumber? Now, for example, I can go into my crafting. I can go restock. And I can basically say restock bamboo lumber. What can I craft with bamboo lumber that's worth me crafting? At the moment, not a lot. Not a lot of actual strict valuable items to craft with bamboo lumber. Although, I have a sneaky feeling I don't have TSM data on a lot of the crafts yet. Means I might need to make sure the profile is up to date on my other toons. Blacksmithing has been my most popular. You've done well with blacksmithing. This is one thing I need to do in a little bit more detail. I need to go through and just like see if there's really a profession or a lumber that stands out from like purely a demand basis. You've done like 20 crafting orders, 500 to 1,000 gold each. I mean, it's better than nothing, but I still find those commissions to be very, very low. Seen more new crafting order add-ons popping up that are made by a single person without any premium or paid for functions in it. What you? Oh, you referring to like TSM competitors? I've not really seen much other than Craft Sim. Holy lag, Batman. Right, we good? Let's make sure TSM's got full details of all of the crafts. There's still a handful of recipes that are really buggy within TSM as well with decor. Some for enchanting, some for alchemy, which are going to cause your TSM to crash every time you try and hover over them, which is a touch annoying, but frustratingly so, even with these couple of bugs. TSM is once again back like in prime spot for crafting and dealing with this stuff though, because you don't have to tinker around too much with the new crafting system for decor in any way, shape or form. Old school TSM crafting is actually BIS again, which is fun. It's been an interesting few days trying to wrap my head around how TSM works again. It's kind of a little bit like riding a bike. Once you've learned how to do it, it never goes away, but definitely a few like oddities about it that I had to learn again. Wait, why has it done this? Wait, what? Why has it put them all in? Why does it put all my favourites like there? Probably because it's broken, isn't it? Grabbed one for 10k, took it. Seen a few that are like 1 or 200 gold. Yeah, I mean, I'm not even going to press the buttons for patron orders that are that cheap, honestly. And the reason being is even though I don't check patron orders, the reason I don't even check public orders very often, even though I don't check public orders very often, I would still rather have 4 patron orders to be able to quickly do all 4 of those when somebody comes along and puts like 4 orders in for 10,000 gold apiece. This means if it's an order for 200 gold, I'm just going to leave it there. I just don't care. It'll probably get filled by somebody, but it won't be me. Do you understand why I'm getting less and less positive on TSM? Oh no, I get it. I totally get it. Because as it stands at the moment, TSM for enchanting doesn't even want to open properly. Yeah, it's not a happy bunny, is it? That's also going to make... Is blacksmithing going to work? I mean, I've said for a long time that TSM needs a real heavy rethink. A real heavy rethink. But I guess it's kind of a similar thing as like many of the other big add-ons out there at the moment. That when you've worked on an add-on for 15 years, to completely have to rebuild it basically from the ground up for it to be properly optimized for today's version of the game is probably more hard work than it's worth to these people. And I say this even from the perspective of TSM, which is, you know, there's a handful of devs for TSM now. Although I don't know what the distribution of work is. I know they have certain guys that are good at certain things. I still think it's probably mostly Sapu that actually codes the, you know, in-game add-on. But there's a few of them that deal with like the back end for the website and databasing and all of this sort of stuff. But I'd also not be too surprised if, from their perspective, the thought of really dragging it into modern day WoW is just too much like hard work. But it shows what can be done, because, you know, Craft Sim turned up, and within the space of like 2 months of the War Within launching, Craft Sim was just like, you know, elevated to God tier real fast. And I think in today's version of retail, there's lots of people now that probably wouldn't be able to do half of what they are doing if it wasn't for Craft Sim. So it's kind of crazy how quickly you can rely on an add-on. I mean, completely selfishly, I can't really knock it too hard though, because I've done very well over the years teaching people how to use TSM. It's a big part of my brand, if you wish to say, is helping people figure out this monster of an add-on that if you wrestle with it, it can do you very well, but spreadsheets better than Craft Sim. I mean, yeah, spreadsheet's always going to win. But it also does come with the downsides of trying to export the data you want. can be a little bit more challenging to a spreadsheet. But if you can, you know, break down that barrier, if you can figure that one out, you can do some pretty clever things in a spreadsheet. Although ultimately, most spreadsheets are not really doing much more than what CraftSim is just doing anyway. The same calculations that CraftSim is doing is what you can replicate in a spreadsheet. But it is definitely easier to do full sort of vertical integration and stuff within a spreadsheet. CraftSim starts to fall over a little bit when you try doing that. Just too many crunching of numbers on the fly just lags it out. We got... Nope. I think a good add-on like Trade Skill Master needs so much different work. The conceptual part, what the add-on actually offers to the user, the UI part is kind of linked to that, but could be done by a different person. And the technical thing about how to implement it and deciding what's even possible, kind of own area. Yeah, it's a bit of a beast, isn't it, in total? I mean, I've always said for years the Trade Skill Master looks like it was designed by a dev, right? It looks like it's designed by a back-end developer. There doesn't usually... The usability of it has often been one of its biggest downfalls. And I, for years, have thought that it's just a, you know, basic TSM interface is a bit of an information overload. Which is one of those that, sure, if you absolutely want that information, you should be able to have access to it, but it definitely shouldn't be default. I wish they'd changed the default auctioning operation. I've thought for years the default auctioning operation is really poor. Considering it's the first thing that people stumble onto with TSM, and the first thing people want to figure out and want to fix and want to adjust for their own sort of, you know, the way that they want to sell their stuff on the auction house. The default auctioning operation is really poor. But my approach to it would probably also not be a great one. My approach to it would be to not just work out of the box. The difficulty with that is user adoption from a beginning standpoint means that people have to do a little bit. I think people should have to do 2 or 3 more steps to get TSM working. As those 2 or 3 steps, if done correctly, could teach them a little bit about how the add-on works. Because 90% of the issues I see with TSM is the fact that people don't understand what the minimum, normal, and maximum values are in an auction operation. Like, there's probably 50% of all questions about TSM end up being something along the lines of, I set the minimum price at 500 gold, why is it still posting at 1,000? Like, that's literally the #1 question. And it's because people don't realize that you pick 2 numbers and it's within that range. If the current listing is within that range, you will post at whatever that current listing is within that range. It's not that you put a minimum price of 500 gold and it posts it at 500 gold. It doesn't take long before people realize that hard-coded values are, you know, not really the best way of doing things either. Yeah, like that for example. I'm just not doing it. But I think the add-on could do much, much, much better to show people what it is the add-on's meant to be good at, rather than just assuming that everybody already knows. Normal price should be removed, only minimum and maximum is needed. Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. I am kind of with you on that. It has its uses, but it's so infrequent. They're so infrequent for most people. Even like veterans to using the add-on don't really use the normal price all that much, because very quickly you realize that it basically never gets used. You have to kind of force the add-on to use the normal price when something else weird is happening. Which means the actual use cases for the normal price basically non-existent. Well, for example, if you want, like, for old, let's say you're dealing with like old transmog or something, of which your normal price is 1,000 gold. You know, let's say your minimum price is 1,000 gold. Your maximum price is 10,000 gold. If you'll post between either of those, under normal circumstances, let's say the only listing there at the time is like 75 gold default listing because somebody's posted it. You know, they were the only one. They posted it at the default minimum value. You don't want to not post yours, but you also don't want to post at the minimum. You'd probably want to post then at a normal price to sort of redefine what the market value for that item should be. And your normal price then could be like 12,500 gold. The time normal is used more often than not for me, basically, is when minimum. I often will use the if below minimum post up normal. And I then use normal as like a price reset kind of thing. I have no expectation of selling that thing, but it makes the cheap thing look cheap enough that somebody will buy it and then yours is next, sort of thing. It's kind of like I said, the use cases for normal are very few and far between. Now, for flipping, actually, believe it or not, my normal price gets used quite a lot for flipping, because on the smaller servers, you'd be actually surprised how frequently I'm the only one posting a certain item. But for normal day-to-day stuff, normal, not so much. TSM tutorial video incoming hype. Miss your YouTuber voice. I've not really had much need to do TSM videos. I was both approached by TSM before the launch of Midnight to do some even sponsored videos, of which I chose not to, simply because there wasn't really any need to. I was thinking about doing some sort of refresher courses on TSM, but after Dragonflight and going into the War Within, where I wasn't proactively recommending people use TSM for things like crafting anyway, so it then felt silly to take sponsored videos from them to, you know, promote aspects of their add-on. Just kind of didn't make sense. There's part of me that's would probably consider doing a sort of a TSM basics video or something, but so I mean, decor's actually the one thing that will bring a lot of people back to using TSM. So kind of weird, in a weird kind of way, now is kind of the time where it could be more useful, but can I give you 433,000 channel points for that course? Got a few channel points lying about, have we? Okay. Point made. Right, where's all of the scribe housing stuff? Which there is a lot more. Not quite sure why inscription got more love than basically any other profession, but it did, so. Often 4 or 5 recipes for each profession. Clearly whoever is responsible for the crafting recipes at Blizzard mains a scribe. Pay for all of these, because then it means I don't have to sift through each profession group every time. I use TSM crafting for so little these days, I don't mind having my favourites list for it populated entirely by all the decor. Also means I can quickly jump on and see what the prices are looking like on the decor items. Right, so yeah, here we go. Look, so many more crafts. Now I don't understand why half of these are not getting values. Missing materials, missing crafting cost. What does TSM not have a value for? Ultramarine inks, it's got prices for these. Aromatic fish oils. You should have prices for these. Why is it not pulling? Oh, okay. It's not going to pull a proper value for dark pine lumber right now. Okay. I need to tweak a few things then. I've made 3.8 mil on decor, but I think TSM would help the process along. If you've already made 3.8 mil on decor, TSM's not going to help you. You've already smashed it. You're already doing absolutely fine. I'm going to be brutally honest about it. Right, let's make a few adjustments. Lumber. Limboy. Cold wind lumber. Ashwood lumber. Rid of the old Bammy Boo. Shadow Moon. Oh, where's Shadow Moon? There it is. Dark pine. So these are some of my custom price sources to try and put a bit more of an accurate number to the value of a piece of lumber. They take the DB region sale average of every piece of decor that uses that lumber, and then adds them all up, and then divides that big number by how many pieces of lumber it takes to make one of each of those items. So it's not exactly crazy scientific, and in fact it's pretty flawed when you break it down. But at least it gives you a dynamic estimation to the value of a piece of lumber that's a little bit more accurate than just guessing. A lot of people will be using hard-coded values right now for their lumber so that TSM and other add-ons work out crafting costs for it. Yeah, so now we can see the different lumbers ranging between 415 gold to 800 gold-ish, roughly. They're slightly more dynamic numbers than just putting in like a fixed value for your lumber. I certainly wouldn't recommend pricing things when you go to post them on the auction house with this kind of number, because this is an indication to what something is worth based upon what's already been selling. What this should really tell you is do not be farming the wall within lumber, because it's worth half what the other lumber is, really. You should prioritize the more expensive lumber crafts first. Factor in the variance of cost, price, and sale rate. Far too much like hard work for something like this. This is just a short-term estimation of the value, which is close enough without doing any of that. We're not looking for the most pinpoint accurate numbers here. I just want there to be some estimation when I also open my TSM crafting window that shows me where basically what I want it to do is highlight the crafts that are more valuable to make. So for example, if I've got a bunch of lumber, at the moment a Pandarian wooden table is a good use of bamboo lumber, because it's got a item value of 37,000 gold, but with it only taking 25 pieces of lumber plus a few other bits and pieces, your sort of ratio of, revenue to lumber is really strong. This would be a really good, strong thing to craft, a couple of, maybe. Do you have a fast way to get crafting costs between accounts without using TSM Sync? Because it has a lot of issues. TSM Sync is a bit of a ball ache to set up, but once it is set up, it's kind of fine. People have less issues with TSM Sync when they know how it works. It basically communicates with itself via hidden chat channels, which often means that you just have to have those two accounts kind of open and kind of almost AFK for a couple of minutes to let them chat to each other to share the information they need. You can actually see this in where the TSM sync is. You can see right now mine aren't connected. Because actually, one thing you do need to do to keep the connection, believe it or not, is actually have the character friended. Your crafting characters need to be friend. Oh, no, this character's logged off. That could also probably be why. But the answer is no, I don't. I don't have a fast way to do it. I do rely on TSM Sync. But equally, I don't really strictly need all of the information from my like crafting account to be shared to my selling account, because I also don't use like the crafting price source. It's it's simply just one of the quirks, should we say, with TSM, but the fact I haven't found a better way to do it means I still use the TSM way, even though there are, you know, it's not perfect. How you doing with decor sales? In my case, I have a few professions that I use to craft decor from older expansions and sold some, but in most cases, it's not getting sold. Just cancel scanning at most. Yeah, yeah. Like everybody, you know, look how profitable it is. It's of no surprise that everybody wants a piece of that profit. That profit pie is very tasty right now, and everybody wants a piece of it. Which means the way that you get your sale is by cancel scanning. It, like I said, it's a real deja vu level PTSD of Shadowlands legendaries on the go right now. We've had 2 expansions where cancel scanning to sell your stuff hasn't really been a way of doing business. This is the life you live in with the old school crafting system. If something is profitable, you're going to have to cancel scan like your life depends on it so that you sell your item before somebody else does. And your solution to not have to cancel scan is maybe move those items to a lower populated realm where there's less competition, or alternatively, just post them and walk away. It's not the most lucrative way of making sales, but believe me, just posting 20 pieces of decor and walking away, you'll probably come back 12 hours later and a couple of them will have sold anyway. Now, sure, you won't have sold all of them, but you've also not had to waste half your day cancel scanning to get those sales. Because time spent cancel scanning is only reducing your profits, technically. You've already spent time farming the lumber. You then go and spend the same amount of time again cancel scanning to get stuff sold. You've actually pretty aggressively dug into your profits. You're almost best just posting them on the auction house and going back to do more farming. You're better off just having more stock and more stuff farmed, and just worry less about the auction house. Or completely ignore me and cancel scan like your life depends on it, but then that's your choice, really. But one thing I am looking to do is double check that there's crafting costs and things working for all of these. So yeah, this is interesting for me to see right now. There's a lot of this is inscription, and it already is showcasing to me that an awful lot of inscription is very saturated with crafts already. There's only a few items with inscription that I could craft that like spin a nice profit. Loom, plushie, tents are items that are, the issue with the tent being it has a very low sale rate, even though it is a good ratio of like lumber to cost. The loom, okay, the loom is slightly problematic in terms of the fact that it has quite a lot of expensive materials that go into making it as well, which is going to dip into those profits real fast. Yeah, lots of people have clearly homed in on inscription, just purely because there's a. Sorry, I'm in tailoring right now, and oh, this is tailoring. It's odd. Sure, whatever. What's inscription look like? There's a little bit more going on with inscription just because of the sheer quantity of crafts. Can we filter? Ah, we can't sort. This is another thing that frustrates me about this UI. We have all of this information and you can't sort things. The window just is what it is. Wowhead article's the culprit. Wowhead always ruining the fun. What's Wowhead doing now? What are they doing now? Farm heavy leather instead. I mean, the reason why so many people make most of their gold with farming is because you basically can't go wrong. Anytime you pick something up, your wealth has increased by the value of that thing you pick up. Now, obviously, if you don't feel the need to pay yourself a salary for doing the work in the first place, then it's all cash money, isn't it? But right, that character's set up now anyway. $500,000 gold with dark iron. Buying up early the week and reposting at the weekend. Fair play. I mean, they do say in a gold rush, the one that really wins is the one that's selling shovels. So, you know, flipping the intermediate materials, selling the intermediate materials that everybody are buying to make all of these decor items before they then sit at the auction house cancel scanning them is another very valid option. It's so funny. Most people who see success with gold making end up doing something that's not necessarily the thing everybody else is doing. When people zig, you zag. If everybody's farming lumber and crafting the decor, then, well, maybe look at selling the intermediates, go into making each one of those decors. What's that? Everybody's selling elk plushies. Everybody's crafting 50 elk plushies because a tweet went viral telling everybody to craft elk plushies. Well, maybe sell the intermediate materials that needed to make said elk plushie, you know? That's kind of the good way to look at it. Let's go alchemy real quick because it's here. Oh, I've done the thing I shouldn't do, which is interrupt TSM from scanning everything. Oh, because then it dies. Wait, where's all me Draenor stuff? Where's me Draenor housing stuff? Did I not pick up any of the Draenor stuff? Maybe I didn't. Maybe I didn't have enough knowledge point books to get them. Wait, hang on, it's gone real boo-boo now. I'll come back to that in a second. So important to take breaks in this lumber grind. Can make you tired fast. Just like auto craft something AFK, go around the house, stretch out, do some chores, lay down. It's honestly one of the reasons I don't do much like actual farming. Because it's both simultaneously like low effort, but super high. Or for me at least, it like drains me real quick doing any sorts of farming. Like, logically, you're just flying around picking up shit. But I actually tend to find... I know some people say, oh, just put Netflix on another screen or something. People who claim they can multitask are lying to you. People who claim they can multitask are just doing two things badly. If I'm going out farming, I am nearly always, you know, focused on the screen that I'm farming on. Doesn't matter if there's a YouTube video or a stream or something playing. That then is just background noise that I'm not even paying attention to at that point. But the focus that is needed to, you know, spot the nodes, fly to the nodes, pick up the nodes, all of that. It doesn't seem like a very strenuous activity. But for me personally, it drains me so fast. This is where, believe it or not, something like cancel scanning, as far as I'm concerned, is more low effort, because you can just like you press the cancel, wait for the scan to happen, then you scroll a mouse wheel, and then you open a mailbox, and then wait for that to empty. You know, these are genuinely things that are relatively low effort in that regard. Now, why do these not have prices on them? Why do we not have a value for dark? We do have a value for dark pine lumber, so what do we not have a value for here? Why is this not generating a crafting cost? Energy cells? Oh, because stupid energy cells. Stupid energy cells. What the Christ on a bicycle is an energy cell, and how do I get it? I don't know. Bind on pickup reagents. Multiple bind on pickup reagents in a crafted item. Ooh. $300 more lumber, and I've made one of each inscription item for myself. Dreading the other profession. So much lumber. You'll get there. You'll get there. I liked the true sight vial for... hunting down the canopic jars or whatever they're called. Oh no, true sight vial for the bonus herbs and stuff, yeah. I'm still waiting to pull the trigger, but worried if Blizzard will ever tweak the number yields. The discussion has been had in Blizzard's backyard, nonetheless, so they're at least aware that there's a bit of frustration with the lumber farm. But I equally wonder if it's just going to be something much like the same discourse around Mechanica, that they just flat out ignore it because it's not really that much of a problem. We are already seeing prices come down day by day. We're already seeing the you know, the problem self-right itself. Which is to say that people are only complaining about having to go farm the lumber because they took one look at the price of everything in the auction house and fell over. Once the prices in the auction house are more at a price where they're willing to just buy it from the auction house, they'll forget about farming lumber.
Is that your wallet? Are you just glad
Yo,
to see me?
Jargist with a 17.
Both,
Good
I
morning
hope.
to you. Thank you. Welcome in. Hope you're doing well. A lot of the crafted stuff is worthless. Something that costs 50 lumber just isn't worth crafting. Agreed. This is why a lot of the big ticket items aren't doing particularly well. The big ticket items that people would like to be selling them for 50k a piece are actually crashing faster in price than the sort of the, you know, your rugs. Rug that takes 18 lumber but is now 10,000 gold a piece, for example. Like the things that use less lumber are more attractively priced in the first place. A 50k bed is 50k bed on a one-time purchase for most people is a lot more difficult to stomach than maybe paying, you know, 6 or 7,000 gold for a candle. Right, one character I do need to log on to now. Now I think I've got all of the TSM data for all of the crafts. I need to jump on to Ranthius, because he is responsible for tweaking. What? No, go away. He's responsible for tweaking my flipping profile. My flipping profile needs the decor groups being added to it. I'm buying the Dragonflight 62 lumber item at around 20k and then going and selling it at 80 plus on other realms. Yeah, this is it. This is it. It's there's most people don't really want to be paying those high prices for that, but the amount of lumber that it takes, most people are wanting to price it at a big number. Export that group, exclude operations, copy. Why is that not working? Right, groups. Flipping. Decor is going to get its own category, methinks. Because it's a category that is going to be relatively evergreen. I think I want... it categorized this way. Now I need to decide if my default operation is good enough. Brutal Auction House PvP's made the full pop servers really bad for selling. Yeah, there's plenty of customers. Nobody's denying there's plenty of customers, but the cancel scan meta will destroy people. And somebody that's willing to sit there cancelling and reposting, cancelling and reposting, cancelling and reposting will hoover up 80% of the sales on a big row. But like I said, the alternative option, one that I've chosen to do, is post and walk away. Because in 3 or 4 hours, you'd be surprised that some of it will have actually still sold anyway, without doing any cancel scanning. Right, this is going to inherit the default auctioning operation, which is fine. It's going to also have my sniper string inherited by default. I don't think I need to actually change any of that. Let me just double check how my default operation for decor is going to affect things. The one thing I might want to do is take a duplicate of this and drop the duration down to 12 hours. What are we shooting for? 125% of the DB region sale average. If that minimum cannot be met, don't post items. That means they'll get redistributed back into the war bank. if there is not that decor item being listed, if that item is not currently listed, it will go in at 250% of the DB region market price is my normal. Okay, yeah, that's fine. That works for decor. The only thing I want is a 12-hour variant of that. I'm actually going to duplicate that. Call it 12-hour. There's a cleverer way of doing this, but it doesn't copy over to the other realm, so I'm not going to do the copy way. I'm scared of using DB region sale average. It's honestly the best way to do it. Honestly, the best way of doing it, because it's actually based on sales data. Everything else is, for starters, a DB recent is a good price to go by, because it's like instant. DB market I would ignore right now, and DB region market average I'd also probably ignore, because they're both 14-day averages. At least DB region sale average is going to be based upon actual sales that have happened. Which is why for my flipping, I use it pretty unanimously. I want to both be buying things and then reselling them based upon a sales average. Right, I now need to syndicate this across all the different realms. Oh shit, who's got Warbank access right now? How safe is the sale data? What if some people sold the items for the wrong price? It can screw it up. I don't worry about that. I don't worry about that at all. That's maybe a consideration if it's like super duper mega uber rare that sells maybe once a month. But for decor right now, that's flying off the shelves on all of the servers, those oddities are not going to have much of an impact on an average. Certainly not enough for me to care about. Right, so we now need to export this profile. And I actually need to make sure I give this account warband access. I'd rather use region value for pets than sale average. Even pets, I use sale average. Like I basically structure all of my data, all of my decisions on actual sales information. Market values are just random numbers for the most part. I don't care what people have listed things for. I'm not going to base. I'm not really going to base decisions. This is why because if people who tend to use DB market or DB region market will also then simultaneously be the ones that tend to complain pretty heavily that they never sell anything. Usually because your market price, your region market price is usually, significantly higher than the point to which most sales actually happen. You can post things at market price. You can post things at region market prices. But they're usually heavily inflated. and I'd say are significantly more wrong than the odd quote unquote wrong sale. Is how I view it anyway. Okay, that profile is on there. Let's do the same. Oh shit, who did I give warband access to? You've got warband access. Good, you're meant to have warband access. Weighted averages are another way to do it. It like I said, it depends how you get the thing as well, and what your goal is. If you've farmed up an item and you simultaneously don't care if it takes you 6 months, 12 months to sell it, then sure, base your posting prices more on sort of market averages. If you've bought something on the cheap and are looking to flip it around quickly, then you look and weight your perspective more on region sale prices. There's no right or wrong. This is the good thing about it. There's no right or wrong way to do it, and the way you choose to do it may be different to somebody else. And like I said, neither people are technically right or wrong. So, grouped items, good. We can delete version 9. Groups, import. Nothing grouped in version 9. Up to 3,000 items in my flipping group now. It's starting to get a little bit bigger than I wanted it to be, but it's fine. I miss using smart average buy price back when flipping was much easier. Yeah. Smart average buy price just doesn't really have much of a place anymore either. With everything now being a lot more region wide. It had its place for a while, but right, have I got anything? What did we sell there? Oh, go on. Skullfire lamp, 50k. Don't mind if I do. Like I said, sometimes just post them and walk away. Post it and walk away. Not heavily using TSM because I'm paranoid and I find it hard to trust the clanker. Well, you have to program the clanker in this scenario. You have to tell it what to do. If you can't trust it, it means you can't trust yourself. Right. I would imagine most of this stuff is not going to list. That's absolutely fine. Means the vast majority of this gets to go in the war bank. What's the add-on you're using for the flight speed percentage? What's it called? Monkey speed? It's called monkey speed? No, that's not the right character. Cancel. How do you guys calculate crafting costs based on how much I bought the mats for, not their current price? Because smart average doesn't work. These days, don't look at it like that. When it comes to calculating crafting costs, you need the information to be good before you craft the thing. What I mean by this is that once you've crafted something, your job is to sell it. You can then only sell it for what the market allows you to sell it for the most part. Listing things based upon what it cost you to craft them is a bit of an old way of looking at things in the game these days. You want to calculate, you want to just sell stuff, and you probably want to use like up-to-date information like DB Recent for your material prices. So then DB Recent will show you what the market rate for the materials are now. That will give you a crafting cost based on crafting one now. And you can use that crafting value to determine whether it's profitable to do it or not in the first place. You can also choose to use things like smart average buy price to help you if you've already bought a bunch of materials and have yet to craft with them. This is good for if you buy a bunch of materials from like you stockpile materials before an expansion, for example, before a patch. You can stockpile a bunch of materials. If you get them cheap, then you can choose to use those prices to determine whether something's profitable or not to craft. But you do also need to remember that your other option is, instead of crafting, is to just resell those materials if they've gone up in value. This is why when it comes to crafting, I generally recommend most people just use like DB Recent price. If it's not profitable to craft it, great. You're better off. You're not adding if you're not adding value to the craft by crafting it, just sell the mats. Don't risk crafting something that you then have to sell at a loss. It doesn't make sense to do that particularly. And when you can 99 times out of 100 guarantee commodities will sell basically instantly because of the region-wide auction house, there's not really that fear of not selling anything anymore. Smart average buy price and average buy price. Well, average buy price is just an average. Say you've bought 10,000 of a single herb, it will just tell you the average of all 10,000 of those herbs that you bought. But smart average buy price is the average buy price of the materials you still have in stock. So let's say you've bought 10,000 of a herb over a period of time, but last time you bought herbs, you bought 1,000 of them, and you've used 500 of them. Smart average buy price would give you the average price of those most recent 500 herbs that you haven't yet used. So average buy tends to get worse and worse and worse over time. Smart average buy price exists to try and help you. Say you buy 10,000 of a herb, you bought 10,000 herbs last week, and you're crafting with them now. It doesn't matter what you paid for the herbs 6 months ago. It matters what you paid for those herbs recently. So Does smart average buy price work with crafting? Yeah, I mean that's literally the reason it exists. It was created because people complained that average buy price was getting worse and worse over time. Because let's say at the beginning of an expansion, you have wildly high prices on stuff. You know, if you're buying herbs, if you're buying your herbs at the beginning of an expansion, you're paying like silly money for them up here right at the beginning. But herbs obviously go down in price, right? If you buy 1,000 herbs here and then 1,000 herbs here, the average of these doesn't make any difference, right? Nobody cares because you've already bought these, you've already crafted something with them, you've already covered the cost of these. Then when you buy your herbs down here, if you buy 5,000 herbs down here, you also don't care that you bought 1,000 herbs back here for like 5 times the price. So average buy price just gets worse and worse over time. Smart average buy price would give you the average of like just this block that you've bought recently. And then once you've used the herbs here, you'll go down to 0. And if you buy, it's clever enough that if you like overlap your purchases, if you buy another block of herbs shortly after, it takes away the value of the oldest herbs first. But none of this really makes a huge difference because I tend to not recommend you use TSM for crafting these days anyway. This is just explaining how the system works. If you're doing anything even remotely recent, Dragonflight, The War Within, you don't want to be using TSM for crafting anyway. You want to be manually crafting things when you know you're doing it at a profit. You don't want to leave anything up to chance, really, because there isn't enough room to leave anything up to chance. See if this server's any better for selling decor. Few bits of decor listing here. Quite a lot of the decor's listing here, actually. We could have already found a better server. Didn't take as long. Whole bunch of decor listing here. How does this server fare for decor in general? Plenty of it still. Reasonable amount of it. Okay. Let's see if there's anything worth picking up over here. No, smart average buy price adjusts its value based on the consumption of that item. Now, obviously, if you resell it, that is also considered consumption. But if you craft with it, that is consumption of that material. It basically just tracks your inventory quantity of the items. Because TSM also knows what you bought things for. Because in theory, at least, it's meant to track all of that as well. project. Oh dear. Wave Breaker Mechasaur. 10k. That's the one from the trash piles. Oh, what is my computer hanging? Not meant to be doing that. Woo! Had a heart attack for a second there. Right. Any goodies to buy? Tapestry of the 5 flights. See, we're starting to get decor show up on these. 4 of them at 12,500 gold apiece. DB region sale average is 28k on these. But the amount of sales info on them is slim. I need to start deciding just how much, how and at what point do I want to start hoovering stuff up. I guess there's only one way to find out. Oh no, me warbank things disappeared. I was too slow. Okay, that's problematic. Don't need these dudes lurking out by the trees anyway. You coming up to 1 million decor profit since the patch? I'm not actually sure, to be honest. I've not tracked my sales. I'll have the info in an add-on, but I'm not 100% sure. I'll I don't actually know. I don't know. I've done so little farming though. I've not crafted more than like probably 50 items. Made 350k without any real add-ons or a real plan yesterday. It's possible to do. Certainly not denying it's possible to do. Boom, 40 mil liquid gold reach. Big milestone for me. Single account, small town goblin. Kind of proud of myself. I love the fact you call yourself a small town goblin after with like 40 mil. That's not small time goblin. Congrats, man. Well done. Small time 40 mil goblin. A Shelly. Another pet. $2 mil in 2.5 days, I'd say. Yeah, see, this is it, right? That's That already is pretty impressive. People don't do that sort of money at the start of an expansion, don't forget. Wow, look how much just doesn't exist on this realm. Single digit numbers on an awful lot of this decor. Fun when you find a realm that has, like, basically nothing. This is when we go, give me one of everything out the war bank. Auctioning shortfall to bags. We've got June Scavenger for sale on this realm. One of those tapestries is going in for 127,000 gold. If I can sell one at 127,000 gold, then that covers the cost of buying all 5 of the ones I did a minute ago. Let's do a quick sniper scan on this realm. Not that I imagine there's going to be much if this is a realm we end up selling stuff on. I don't so much use point blank sniper, but actually for just quickly scanning each realm for decor might be a bit easier than using the TSM sniper. But I'm not expecting to find many deals on decor stuff yet. Using any third-party auction house data, or you old school natty sniper? No, I tend not to use much outside of the game. Not that it doesn't have value to use, I just don't. I tend to do a quick sniper scan whenever I'm relisting auctions. If anything pops up, then cool, great. If not, move on. Um, I've kind of tended to note it. Like, it depends what third party, external data you're looking at. Where it actually pulls its data from in the first place. The Undermine Exchange is a very good place to see where just the absolute cheapest for something is. That's very handy. Big fan of the Undermine Exchange. I know you can do relatively smart shopping scans and stuff on, what's it called, saddlebags. Not a website I use too much personally. What else you got? That then includes things like Azeroth Auto, what's it called? Azeroth Auction House Assassin, AAA, or whatever it's called. Which is a desktop application you can run. Desktop application you can run in order to, I think it pulls the Blizzard API data, but works kind of like point blank sniper just outside the game. I'm going to be honest, I've not really used it. There's also Flipping Pal, isn't there, which is a boofy invention. Flipping Pal is good for highlighting where the absolute cheapest deals are as well, and suggesting maybe where you should take them. But the more I used it, the more I felt that it was quite clickbaity in terms of it was telling you to take it to the realm where you could post it for the absolute most, which is great, but it also doesn't really give you much confidence that you'd flip those things around pretty fast. I found it significantly more useful for where to buy cheap stuff, but its suggestions on where to then take it to sell, I didn't put much value in. And Flipping Pal has the additional fact that it is paid for from the ground up. I don't even think there's a free option of Flipping Pal. And I also think they've just recently implemented like a second tier premium one, so I don't know how that's going. I've not looked at it for a while. Three of my accounts today, I'm probably not going to be doing any shopping on particularly. I will just get the auctions relisted, I think. One of the realms, though, I might pay a little bit more attention to. Flat Doggo. Yeah, she's chilling today. They were up early again, all the dogs. So they were up early for a while, and they hopefully burnt through most of their energy. So I get a few hours to do the stream. I'm not too good at multitasking. I should probably be just casually flying around a zone, picking up lumber while I'm waiting for things to happen on these screens, but when I'm already jumping about on 4 accounts, I'm usually finding there's always a button to press. Oh, I got pins and needles in my foot. I hate pins and needles. It's literally the worst. Cut it off. I mean, that is an extreme way about doing things. This character does not have access to the wallbank. Ah, Cockosaurus. I've given wallbank access to the wrong account somehow. Alright then, quickly list these and we'll fix that problem. Half-Hill Cook Pot. Reconstructed Mogu Lightning Drill. I'm hoping that the long term value in decor will hold up enough that it actually makes flipping it a nice evergreen addition as well. I know in the next few days, weeks, months that it will crash pretty hard. During that pretty hard crash presents a good opportunity to buy up some of it at basically crafting cost. And if the further it crashes and the harder it crashes, the less people will value the lumber they've already pre-farmed. I don't think there's going to be a full second tier of craziness when midnight launches, because I think most of the decor will already be way too established in price by then. Which is kind of going to be a little bit odd, a little bit weird. That before midnight even launches, I kind of have this theory that decor might be and housing might be a bit of a done deal. A done deal even before the next expansion launches, but right, can we get that lot listed here quickly? And I hate they did this with housing. I mean, having it going live, like they kind of had to though, realistically though, didn't they? It would have been a monster of a risk to have saved this until the launch and then prayed that it just worked on midnight launch. That feels significantly more risky for me. The hype and profit would have been infinitely more if they had housing come out with midnight. Do you think? I mean, you would definitely have the issue that the players who are farming the lumber right now and who are crafting and who are selling, there would be even less people willing to do it at midnight launch. I mean, I'm happy to spend a few hours farming lumber right now, but that's because there's actually nothing else to do. You drop that system in place on an expansion launch, and the amount of people that are going to be willing to do it is single digit. It feels. I can definitely see the profitability would have been higher at midnight launch, but I mean it's not exactly bad now by any stretch, is it? Not exactly bad. If anything, being able to like focus on it now means that those that want to extract some value out of it can, well, they have. Look at how many people are turning around and they're like, yeah, I made like a few tokens in like 2 days. I think there's a lot of people that have would have extracted a lot more value out of it with it launching now than what they will do at the launch of an expansion. We'll have the entire new profession reset for midnight launch. I think that will keep people plenty busy. Snowclaw Cub. Doing well selling pets. Plenty of time where we do nothing in midnight before the content comes out. Heroic Week's a thing again this time as well, isn't it? Apparently. Which means there's even... It's going to spread out the... It'll spread out the goal-making opportunity even more by having a Heroic Week. Low housing level can also be a bottleneck in terms of people actually buying decor. We need the Endeavour system to increase the cap. Yeah, I think that's a 50-50 one though. Since I know there's an awful lot of people that are buying decor items for the 10 XP you get for adding each one, because without the Endeavour system, people are struggling to get to like level 5, and that in and of itself could, as crazy as it sounds, be making more people try their best to buy one of everything just to just for cap reasons, because people are crazy. Yeah, the raid releasing over a duration of time is going to. We've got early access, then we've got the first week, then you've got the second week of Heroic Week before Mythic comes out. So, like, there's going to be quite a long time at the beginning of midnight before people are getting their quote unquote BIS gear, which will mean that the first season should have quite a nice long tail to it. But it also means it puts emphasis on there not really being a huge rush. I've already been looking at just how casually we're going to be able to take the launch at midnight. A lot of the weight has been lifted off blasting professions by the fact that they've dropped quality down to only 2 qualities. If there's also going to be a lot more of a steady release schedule for the content, you no longer need to like push your professions particularly fast. You're still going to want to be keeping up with the mind, but pushing knowledge points, pushing patron orders every day, min-maxing professions is not anywhere near as important this time round. And with so much longer, in theory, to do it, it was already a bit of an issue in the War Within for those that were really pushing, that you would actually get min-maxed way before people needed anything, which had the effect that you were sitting there for days twiddling your thumbs waiting for there to be demand for the top tier stuff. And in the time that in every one of those days, the profit margins were getting skinnier and skinnier and skinnier. And people needed those profit margins to recuperate the outrageous costs of zerging those professions in the first few days. So I know there's a lot of people that pushed profession shuffles at the beginning of the War Within, and in turn ended up like barely making any gold, or in some worse scenarios, even taking a loss, simply because the demand didn't kick in for ages. I was kind of fortunate that there was a few things in the run up to the big hype profession season, which I was able to make a boatload of gold from, that covered the cost of me doing most of my profession shuffles. And then I was lucky enough to like be one of the first in the EU to be able to mass craft flasks right at the time when everybody needed them as well. So I made silly gold off flasks at the beginning. So I did fine at the beginning of the War Within, but it was more problematic for some. Flawless Amethyst Bauble. Oh, these are ones that are tempting to pick up when I see them priced like this. It's just too much to have invested in one item right now as a flip. Make a list for next expansion. And think what will change in the profession. Save it and we can check back when the last Titan Alpha comes out. I mean, every single minute my live streams are already saved. Yeah. It's difficult to know what, because for example, in this expansion, we've seen concentration like be the meta, right? People who have hopped on the concentration hype train and done it in a big way have seen pretty solid success with it throughout most of the expansion. And whilst concentration still does look like it's going to be good next expansion, it doesn't look as if it's going to be as good. Which means something else needs to come along that becomes better. I don't know what that is yet. I mean, Dragonflight had, you know, the whole Dracothist market and alchemy and all of that sort of business, but that didn't come in until 10.1. That didn't come in until halfway through the expansion. Dragonflight, we also had like the Transmog Awakened recipes and all of that sort of stuff, which was also more stuff that turned up halfway through, which obviously you can never predict because it turns up halfway through. I know everybody is going to want concentration to be absolutely silly business. I'm not 100% convinced of it yet. Because everything I've seen so far indicates that they've taken a more conservative approach with concentration. Enchanting will still be good, jewel crafting will still be good, but I don't think we'll be making anywhere near the same sorts of profits from concentration. I mean, that's also ignoring the fact that there's going to be 10 times as many people doing it as well, which is a problem by itself. Yo, woo, with a 45 streak. Go on. More than consistent, I'd say. Welcome in, my man. It's a shame we don't see any improvements on the order system in Midnight. Yeah, so far, no changes there. It is one aspect that I would have really liked to have seen adjustments to, if nothing else. It's a table. There's a lot of lumber that go into them tables. That's a very cheap Guardian cub as well, to be fair. Where are we right now? Oh, we're on Kazakh. Thought we were clearly somewhere cheaper. very unlikely to list any of this stuff on Kazakh, but we will take it elsewhere. IDT tip to the rescue, by the way. Yeah, it definitely helped me out a bunch yesterday. Fun little story. So yesterday I was trying to get the item IDs for every single piece of decor. Now there's 200 crafted decor, that is. There's about 240 different pieces of crafted decor. And getting the item IDs for them all was proving annoying. I even went as far as to ask AI to pass various websites to get the item IDs for them, but AI kept lying to me, so I gave it the boot. Yeah. Asked Woo, and of course Woo knew that there was an add-on that just basically put the item ID in the tooltip, so I used that and just went through them methodically one by one. It was quite amusing how blatantly I was being lied to by AI, though. All I asked it to do was pass the URLs off items from a web page. All I asked it to do was to put them in a list for me. That's all I wanted. And it would cheat. It would pass the one on the top row perfectly fine. It'd give me the right number. But for every other one, it would cheat. And instead of actually doing it, instead of actually passing it and taking the item ID from the URL, the way it would cheat was it would just add 1 to the previous number that it found. And it just gave me a sequential list that was increasing by 1 every time. And I even pointed out to it, no, you are lying to me. And it was like, oh yes, you are right. I'll go back and try again. It went back, it tried again, and it basically lied to me again. So it was a good lesson for me yesterday in that AI lies. It is not always to be blindly trusted. Can AI actually read the URLs? I mean, it can. It can, because it does it. But it won't do it more than once. It will do it on its terms. Which was, in my opinion, mighty cheeky of it. You have to prompt it with autistic level precision, and even then it can fail to provide the information. Yeah, it got to the point where it was more difficult prompting it correctly than it would have been to have just done it myself. Maybe try and use AI to make a Python script to do the parsing itself. Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, but like, it was clearly better ways of doing it, and the better way resulted in me just asking Woo. and then that was our problem solved. I was trying to get help for making a WeCore. It told me that I could track something, explained to me the whole thing in the code, interpaced it, just to tell me later that that thing is then not trackable. Yeah, like the sheer level of just lying it does is quite amusing. Do you see material ranks and crafting ranks being a thing? What, all the way in the last Titan? I can't see any reason why they'd get rid of it. The problem they have is the problem they have with crafting more so than anything else is that the feedback that they get upon what it is that people like and don't like about the system isn't necessarily where the problem actually lies. Because people will just, people will just, yeah. What I'm trying to basically get at is that the feedback to Blizzard is pretty average about stuff. People will complain that they don't like the crafting system, and they'll frequently say that this is the thing they don't like about it. But when, in most cases, the crafting system would like. The funny thing is the current crafting system we have would be absolute god tier for making gold if we weren't in a region-wide auction house situation. 99% of issues with the crafting system for most people is because it's so outrageously competitive because of the region-wide auction house that nobody makes money with it. And in fact, in many cases, people lose money with it because margins are just like strangled at like, low single digits. And so when people say they don't like the crafting system, the reason they don't like the crafting system is because it doesn't make them any gold. And it doesn't make them any gold, not because the crafting system is particularly complicated, but because the markets are so outrageously competitive because of the region-wide auction house. So Blizzard trying to change a bunch of stuff within the professions, like they've done in Midnight, to quote-unquote simplify things, are just dumb changes that don't actually make any difference to it whatsoever. Because they're not actually addressing where the actual problem lies. I think they need to do a bit of an overhaul of the spec tree system. They need to violently lift the complexity of actually placing an order. Until they do that, nobody's gonna pay any real attention to the system until they make placing of orders less dumb. Yeah, that's about as. Wait, did I not? What's going on here? Where's all my auctions on this character? Okay, that's very odd. Strauss-Han's marks popping up on my sniper scans all of a sudden. More tapestry of the 5 flights. Seems to be pretty undervalued, that one. That realm needs. Oh, I'm getting out of sync with what I'm doing here. Meant to be refreshing the inventory on these guys. So a forum post complaining both about decor being too expensive and too many bots farming lumber. Now that's all fair talk for sure, but the contradiction in people's arguments and solutions is real funny. Yeah, I see a bunch of this sort of stuff going on. Yeah, people complaining decor's too expensive. But what people are clearly missing is the fact that decor's also very profitable. So, you know, just spend a couple of hours farming lumber and crafting decor, sell it, then all of a sudden you've got significantly more gold in your back pocket than you had previously, which then means you can buy a few pieces of those decor that you actually want. It's more often than not an art, when you break it down, it's more often than not an argument that people want everything for free and they don't want to put any effort into getting something, which is fine, but you can't then argue that Blizzard should change things in your favor, because that's just silly. For example, I've seen literally the exact same people, both simultaneously complaining that farming lumber is too difficult. The prices in the auction house then for lumber crafted things are too high, and these were also the exact same people who were complaining that the transmog costs of the recent change was too high as well. It's like there's an absolute golden opportunity for you to make a bunch of gold. So then when something, when there's something in the game that is then expensive, it's no longer as expensive because you have more gold. I don't know. It is kind of crazy. People will very quickly complain about something and ask for changes in something, because the be all and end all is that they just want it to be free and they want it without any effort. It's easier to scream and shout and ask Blizzard to change something than it is to put in an hour or two's effort to make. I mean, farming lumber's like 80 to 100k an hour right now. Spend a couple of hours farming, a couple of hours crafting lumber, and then half an hour selling it all, and then all of a sudden you'd have loads of gold, and when something new comes up, you can spend it on stuff. I don't know, it's madness. No more rare patterns. Made so much gold in Dragonflight off the necklace because I took a risk and bought it for more gold than most people have, and I made it back tenfold. Now every pattern is 10 gold a week after release because everybody can get them. Catch-up system or lack of is a joke for the non-gathering professions. Yeah, I have directly given that feedback to Blizzard a couple of times, that the catch-up system is actually a meme. Like, it's legitimately a meme. How is 3 knowledge points a day considered catch-up, right? When we have professions that now have that are capping out at like 800 knowledge points in total. How does somebody look at a knowledge tree with 800 possible points in it and consider 3 points a day a form of catch-up? It's just insulting. It's like, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that is dumb. Seriously dumb. So that is definitely one area that I was really hoping Blizzard would address, but it's irrespective of the fact that you don't need to fill the entire spec tree for you to be, good at crafting. But if you've gone one path early on in the expansion, and then you want to change path because the path you wasn't a very good one, it was over competitive. At the point where you choose to change path, you might still need a good 100 to 150 knowledge points to get best at that new chosen path. At 3 knowledge points a day, it's just you're never going to catch up. It's it's the illusion of a catch-up system without it actually being helpful in any way, shape, or form. And I know without doubt that it's basically there to drive daily engagement. It's not there to actually help you catch up. which is why it frustrates me more than anything else, because I can see I can see the sneaky tactics at play. They're like, oh yeah, there's a catch up system here. Oh, but yeah, to get your catch up, you're now going to need to religiously log in each and every day. Not to mention they hid the damn system at the beginning of the expansion anyway, which is also kind of crazy for me. Why did you choose to so carefully hide the catch-up system in patron orders, where it was really not clear or obvious it was even there or how it worked? It's kind of odd. I don't get it. These are the things that, if Blizzard were looking at simplifying the professions to make it easier for everybody to play with, these are some of the areas that I think should have been addressed, not just slicing out thaumaturgy because apparently it's too complicated. Core problem with the current economy profession money-making system is that a tiny majority of the player base is owning 99% of all the gold. Blizzard has said it themselves as well. How can so few of the players dominate? Are they doing something that is the actual problem, or is the Blizz allowing loopholes and scummy tactics, or is it all of the above and then some more? I think there is an element of that, but I don't think it's as problematic as it first sounds. You definitely need players to be able to generate large amounts of gold, because the entire token system revolves around this, right? The only way that people can take their credit card and buy gold is because there is somebody else on the other side of another screen that has worked very hard to get it. So they do absolutely need to make sure that the economy works in a way that does allow players to make a lot of gold. But what we've seen in the last couple of expansions actually is them try harder and harder and harder to make it fairer. We have seen concentration, which has stood out as a way to basically mean that any single character with any single profession can log on once every couple of days and just quickly make 5,000 gold, right? Pretty much anybody can do that, which does make it a little bit fairer across the board. Everybody has the ability to make a bunch of gold pretty quickly. And you
Let's
can
make sweet
scale
profit
that.
together.
You see people with hundreds of concentration alts now. You can scale that if you want, but that also doesn't come without crazy amounts of effort, leveling those characters, leveling those professions, and like getting them to the point where they can just log in every day. And then you are still doing the same process as somebody else, but like 50, 100 times over. So you are just putting in more effort. So I think it's fine. But it's at least at the foundational level a bit fairer. Xyloid with the Prime, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Good day to you. I think housing is an interesting one, because housing is one of those things that has the opportunity to extract huge amount of like money from the top, right? Because gold you spend on housing is kind of just, it's kind of like just setting it on fire, isn't it, for the most part? And if any gold that you spend like through vendors and stuff like that, I mean, obviously buying crafted transmog off the auction house, transmog, buying crafted decor off the auction house is just, moving gold around the economy. But anything that's given to a vendor, which will add up really goddamn fast. Look how many players right now are just flying around every vendor, just buying like a handful of every piece of decor that they have to offer. That's probably huge amounts of money, that like huge amounts of gold that's exiting the game. The problem is though, is it's not coming from the super mega rich ones. But like I said, I'm not so convinced that the super mega rich goblins are too problematic. Sure, they have horrendous amounts of buying power compared to others, and have the ability to like aggressively reset markets, but I don't think most of them do. Certainly not enough to make them be seen as a problem. 24,000 gold for a Dalaran auto hammer. Regional sale average so far of 42,000 gold. That's a potential double your money flip if there's not like 7,500 of them on the same server as well. There's only 3 of them on the server. See, this is the thing. You'd have to buy all 3 of them. Have to buy all 3 of them. Do I want to buy all 3 of them? Sure. We can put the other ones somewhere else. Oh, warband access. Flipping out. Just put them in the guild. Boon will get exploited the shit out of. Hyperspawns was made to be so that questing people could always get mobs. See now what it's used for. Well, they've patched that one, haven't they? Yeah, they've already patched that one. Yeah, it's there's definitely. Oh, I've taken them out on this character and he doesn't have access to the war banker again. He's old. Not all logged in. You're all logged in, so you can log out. So I'm carefully making sure I keep warband access on the same account, which has thrown my brain through a loop. I'm trying desperately to make sure warband access stays on the same account. Two of my friends who claimed they'd never buy a WoW token for gold just bought one over the weekend. One bought one and then the other one said fuck it and bought one too. Housing will do that. Housing will do that. It will cost a lot more than I think a lot of people realise. Does the Warbank have a limit to how many characters can access it, or is it bound to? It's bound to a single account. Yeah. Only one account can have access to the Warbank at any given time. Which, when you run multiple accounts like this, causes frustration at times, but. Biggest balancing change in that regard would probably be limiting one account to each player and using more being against TOS. I really doubt Blizzard would let that money go. I'm usually quite quick to push back on any like Blizzard enforced restrictions. And this is simply because, like it or loathe it, World of Warcraft has had one of the most successful economies in a video game that has ever existed. They have capitalized on players seeing value in every item in the game for years now. And the way they do it is quite clever. The way they do it is by making sure that they have the most hands-off approach with the entire economy, and the vast majority of it is completely player-driven. Soon as companies start putting in restrictions too aggressively, they just nuke their own economies. The entirely player-driven economy in WoW is honestly the reason why I think it's still so successful today as an MMO. So something like saying you can only have one character, logged on at a time ever, and doing anything more than that is, deemed against the rules all of a sudden, would probably only work in the opposite effect into what it would be intended for, right? It would probably only make everything even more expensive, which is directly against what most players who play the game want to see. So, yeah, in all honesty, I don't really know what the... I think it's fine that Blizzard touches the system as little as it can get away with, and just lets all of the values of all of the items, materials don't exist unless somebody goes out and farms them. Crafted items don't exist if somebody doesn't craft them. And in turn, if there's too many people that craft things, shit gets cheaper. If there's not enough stuff being crafted, it gets more expensive. It's all self-balancing. And it all exists because there's not any one single real overarching set of rules and restrictions. Players can buy things at the prices that they deem are acceptable. People can also sell things at a price that they deem as acceptable. Much like in the real world, though, one player's perception of value is going to be very different to another's. You've got 10 million gold, spending 30k on a lampshade for your player housing probably isn't going to hurt. But if you've never had more than 50,000 gold, that lampshade starts to look very expensive. Main reason garrisons was so problematic, it created resources far too easily with the herb garden and the mine. And not to mention the amount of raw gold that it produced back in those days was astronomical. We had 400k tokens in Warlords of Draenor 10 years ago. And the tokens were so much because people were just making so much gold from sending followers out on missions every day, and then logging in once or twice a day and emptying their mailbox of gold. It was bananas. And so by the end of Warlords of Draenor, token price was absolutely astronomical. And then when the mission tables were removed and people's source of gold disappeared, that's when we then saw one of the biggest crashes in the token value. Because all of a sudden people's money printer was turned off. And when they spent all of that gold and wanted more of it, there was less of it going around. Tokens released in what, at 24k? I bought 10 of them thinking they'd last forever. Yeah. I made far more gold from the Legion mission tables than Warlords. Legion mission tables worked. They weren't as lucrative, though, from a raw gold perspective. Can I put that in there as well? No. No. These have posted, these have posted, these have posted. Let's let you log back on so you keep warband access. Lumber nodes spawn quick to make it easy to pick them up. I already have 100 in about 30 minutes. This is too easy. Yeah, 200 lumber an hour is quite easily achievable. Fly around on a druid, you'll be getting 200 lumber an hour in basically any expansion. There are some zones that are slightly better than others, but 200 lumber an hour is pretty straightforward to achieve. What's your take when AI gets so good it can do tasks by itself? It could be trained by player specific behavior. What do if the grind? Skip the ball. You don't need to. You don't need to work like games already exist along that exact line, right? There are basically AFK simulators. The mobile market is absolutely dominated by them, where you don't play the game. The game plays the game for itself. You just have to wait until it's finished doing the thing. They are complete time sinks deliberately. So that already exists. The hope is that a game like World of Warcraft will never fall into that category, though, because it's a PC game. It's a MMO. It's a game that revolves around you actually playing it. You know, the entire concept is that the effort you put in rewards you in some way, shape, or form. Have you seen the AI playing Minecraft? They're getting scary good. Is AI playing Minecraft? Is it now? I don't think I'm that surprised by that. When I see the mobile market, I'm so glad I grew up before there was mobiles. Yeah, mobile gaming is a special breed. It is for sure. Very special breed. And to me, it's of absolutely no surprise that like Warcraft Rumble just flopped, because they were entering into an arena that they knew nothing about. They thought because they own King, because Candy Crush is what Candy Crush is, they thought they could step into the mobile market and just take over, when the mobile market just made them look silly real fast. I think Rumble lasted 18 months before it got completely abandoned, which is kind of shows that market is kind of wild. So a group of 5 Koreans hammering League on mobile for 2 hours during a layover. I think the fact that mobile hardware is getting so powerful these days, you can play far more sophisticated games on it, is really interesting. But the general mobile gaming landscape is so dominated by just pay to win microtransaction AFK simulator kind of bullshit that there comes a point where can you even describe it as a game anymore when you're not actually playing it? It's kind of wild. You're just logging onto it once every 12 hours, telling a minion to go off and do something, and then coming back when it's done it. Like, but for some reason, it's wildly addictive. Humans be dumb. We be silly. Wonder what happened to the new game mode they teased a few months ago, the Duskwood looking spooky game mode thing. I'm 99% sure that got sidelined due to housing. I don't think they ever really said. I think we saw like one slide in a presentation of it, basically ever, which means it was very easy for Blizzard to make that one go away. It might turn up again another day, but I'm pretty sure it would have got sidelined because of housing. There's slight rumors that that thing was only going to exist as the reuse of assets and effort from the survival game that Blizzard was making, but has also been cancelled. $18 and still Blizzard made shitloads of more. I don't think they really did make any money on Rumble. This is the thing. I doubt they made a penny on Warcraft Rumble, to be honest with you. They certainly weren't willing to spend any money on advertising, which is usually pretty telling. I think they were, like I said, I think they were expecting to step into it and have the entire PC player base of World of Warcraft hop onto it and get magically addicted to it, of which that didn't really happen. And unfortunately, unless you are willing to spend absolutely disgusting amounts of money on advertising, you're going to find it difficult to rise to the top in the mobile scene. Adding on to the fact that it wasn't great at what it did. The one single thing that I found really problematic about Rumble, and I am convinced it was the death of the entire game, was its load times. Took fucking forever to load into a game. Which on mobile is literally the number one biggest sin. If your game doesn't load instantly, somebody's going to be on Instagram before you know it, or back on TikTok. You absolutely have to make sure that on mobile, your games are loading instantly. And you would sit there waiting on a load screen to play a single game of Rumble for like 20, 30 seconds, which, yeah, just basically meant people would have, people's attention spans is like in negative numbers on mobile. You just can't have slow ass load times like that. If you load up a game of basically anything that's big, take basically any Supercell game, whether it be Clash of Clans or Brawl Stars or anything along those lines, big boy mobile games, right? Within 4 seconds, you're actually playing a game. You want to. Beat Anixia today on Rumble. So weird, still sticking to it. The gameplay aspect of it wasn't bad. It wasn't particularly bad, but they should really have absolutely jumped on the PvP side of things, because it's on the competitive side of it where they'd make the money. They needed to jump on the PvP side of it. They needed to, yeah, jump on the PvP side of it to actually make some money from it, because people will pay money to be good at a competitive game. Surprise, surprise. This is what the rest, and this is the problem. Even though I don't agree with that from a gaming perspective, nobody wants pay to win, but the mobile market is dominated by pay to win, and the worst thing than anything these days is that if your game doesn't have the ability to pay to win, if it is actually legitimately fair, people are going to get bored of it because they can't buy an advantage. It's kind of busted, but this is why the mobile market's just a crock of shit. For anybody that actually enjoys playing video games, it's just a meme. Because they weren't willing to play that. They weren't willing to play the mobile game. They lost. Pretty simple. I saw a meme yesterday that housing is only as big and well developed already because somebody at Blizzard finally remembered that they had a team stashed somewhere else separately. Their planned midnight feature was overtime, overprice, and they asked that hub if they have something to sell. You thought you'd never ask here, have a huge feature? I don't understand. The team got years of nobody breathing down their neck to happily develop their project, basically. Oh. Legion's a good example of this. Warlords of Draenor and Legion, to my understanding, were meant to come out the other way around. Legion was meant to come out first. Warlords of Draenor was meant to come out after it. But for whatever reason, the order of which those expansions were to be released was switched. Don't know whether it was storyline reasons or what. But that then ultimately meant that Warlords of Draenor came out incredibly rushed, and hence why they had really no endgame content in Warlords of Draenor. And then simultaneously, Legion ended up with double the amount of development time that most expansions get, hence why it was packed full of stuff. And when you look at it that way, it starts to make a lot of sense. So, yeah, that's sort of like, surprise, surprise. We spent a bunch of time putting in a bunch of effort and made a good thing. Crazy, that. Or Dalaran auto hammers. These are going cheap all over the place. Scarecrow. I'm gonna buy a bunch of scarecrows and spread them around. Wait, why have you got nothing to post? We already done the post scan. Oh god, I'm getting real out of sync with what I'm doing here. Trying to keep warband access on one specific count is a ball ache. I should probably not be wombo comboing, scouting for decor deals. I should just be laser focused on relisting auctions first, but I really hope gambling rules get stricter soon. At least if they want to sell in the EU, the gacha world is getting out of hand. People getting addicted and spending their salary on a new shiny thing that gets power crept only 2 months later. Yeah, anybody that looks at like the Asian gaming market says exactly that. It's still very much the Wild West there, and it shows. How do you plan to track how much you will earn in Decor before midnight? I don't really plan on tracking it. I don't really plan on tracking it, if I'm honest. My general rule of thumb when it comes to tracking gold these days is as long as the value in the war bank is slowly going up, then everything is working. Where if the value in the war bank declines, it's either because things are not working or because I've been aggressively buying stuff to flip on other realms recently. Outside of that, I don't do too much busy work in trying to track things. I kind of just put faith in the fact that my system is just working. Be sure EU rules are a lot stricter than other places as well. Well, they already are, but they're still the some of the big players in the mobile market, in the gaming market in general, are always going to be a few steps ahead of regulation, you know? When you figure out that goal making is a zero-sum game, you two will have the same mentality as Mantheus. I'm nearly there. As long as the things you're doing are done for good reason, you don't need to keep track of everything, really. Tracking gold is one of those things that comes from like farming mentality, where you're usually desperately trying to make sure that the thing you're farming is, you get quite used to tracking things when you do farming a lot because you want to know what your gold per hour results are. But by the time you get big into crafting and especially flipping, you kind of just stop caring. You enjoy the process of doing it. You naturally find that the money pile tends to grow. Guardian Cubs cheap everywhere at the moment. What's going on with Guardian? Is there something I don't know about the Guardian Cub? Why is this thing? Why am I spotting this cheap in a whole bunch of places? Making me wonder if I should buy some, but...
Let's make sweet, sweet profit together.
Molten Death 007. Awesome name, by the way. Thank you very much for the prime. I appreciate that. Molten Death. At least Decor seems to move in and out of the Warbank pretty error-free, which is nice. While it is kind of frustrating keeping warband access where you need it if you have a few accounts, the easy way to make sure that that is a thing. Oh no, wait, hang on. Am I going backwards now? Oh, I went top to bottom on some of the accounts, and I went top to bottom on some of the accounts and bottom to top on the others, and now I can't remember which way I was going. I need more coffee today. Oh, it's Monday. Shouldn't be doing anything this complicated on a Monday. Why do some of these servers seem to have significantly less on them all of a sudden? Concerningly low quantity of items. I don't know why. Like, quite ridiculously low number of items as well. Hoping I've not ballsed up and done something stupid at some point. I hope there's not a mailbox monster eating everything. You make a game with loot boxes completely illegal in the EU, companies will be pushing change the games and make it usable in the EU too. I think it's the CEO of Supercell recently, did a public letter pushing back against some legislation bill about microtransactions and stuff in video games. Arguably a company like Supercell that has some of the biggest mobile games in the industry, who profit an ungodly amount off the back of microtransactions and loot boxes and $99 gem bundles and all of this sort of stuff, is kind of forced to push back against regulation. But I do truly believe that legislation is needed. One of the most interesting and also concerning games for me in existence is Roblox. Because that seems to be almost entirely unregulated and is just got some filthy monetization in it. You think World of Warcraft is bad? Oh my god. The fact that Roblox is literally pushed on kids, but all of its mini games are being created by just immoral. A lot of the games, I should say, are being made by just moral devs that live out in Dubai. I'm sure there's a little bit more nuance to it than that, but it's still a bit scary. Oh wait, hang on. Oh. Without getting too political and keeping it general, there's a reason why other big economies are actively trying to weaken EU. The union rules are getting in the way of companies just doing whatever they want. Human psychology is being exploited. Minors getting addicted way too early. Yeah, there's a relatively common argument that, sure, industry and the economy over in America has boomed. It's of no surprise that all of the big tech giants, they consider home America. But on the flip side, America's got some pretty sizable issues, like early level addiction and stuff. So it's like Yeah, 2 and 2 does usually make 4. I do think the EU is pretty heavy with its limitations on foul business practices, but for good reason, though, right? Maybe? I don't know. America well, yeah, yeah, of course. Everything funnels through Ireland first, though. let's not knock about. Everything funnels through Ireland first. Hey, hey, I get paid by Google every month. That paycheck says Ireland on it. Outland. Big server on Team NA. Not so big a server on EU. I was wondering actually with Decor if there would be some deals to be had on Decor stuff on some of the lower pop servers. Places where there is so few pieces of Decor actually posted yet that somebody turns up with a piece of crafted Decor and has to decide what price to post it at because they've got no point of reference. And that in and of itself could potentially cause some pretty good bargains to be had on Decor. But is not so much turning out to be the case just yet. I think for when it comes to flipping Decor, it's going to predominantly be buy it off the top 4 servers and just syndicate it everywhere else. %90 of my purchases are off the top 10 realms by population. Yeah, I do still think that's probably the case. Deposited 2 million. Did that character have 2 million gold on him? Flipping hell. Oops. When you accidentally find 2 million gold on a toon. Hardly worth the scan times on lower pops. Yeah, I mean, I'm 2 birds with 1 stone at the moment. I'm relisting my auctions anyway. As it turns out, this account seems to have very few items being listed. I'm very, very, very concerned there's a mailbox monster issue. Because I seem to be pulling way less out of a mailbox than I would have expected on any of these characters. But I can't confirm or deny any of that yet. Just seems odd how few things I'm taking out the mailbox. Grab a drink quickly. In fact, I'm going to take a quick ad break for 2 minutes. Quick bathroom break, stretch my legs, and grab a drink whilst this is doing. I'll be back in a sec.
Let's make sweet, sweet profit together.
Seb with the 2 months. Thank you very much. Welcome in. Welcome, welcome. Appreciate that. Hope you're doing well. Going to be hard to find realms where this isn't already happening. Possibly, yeah. I mean, I know categorically that this is quite early to be thinking about doing much flipping on decor stuff because we're still in the early phases, but there's definitely some things knocking about. Here, for example, we found 2 Night Spire fountains at like 10k a piece, which are, even for this realm alone, pretty cheap. Even if it's just not even taking them anywhere, just straight flipping them around. It's a good opportunity for me to go through the war bank on a few of these banking characters as well, just to redistribute stock about a bit. My operations are set up to not post things on the auction house at all if they go below my minimum price. So after a little while, a lot of these auction characters end up with just like dead stock in their bags. So it's good to put all that back in the war bank for somebody else to have a go once in a while. Poking around with decor is a good good opportunity for that to happen as well. Sold everything from the 20 hours of lumbering I've done, so time to lumber again. Oh my god. That's quite the farm. That's quite the farm. Isn't it too early for flipping when one casually can make 300 to 400 gold an hour from lumber? I wouldn't say that's casual, and I wouldn't say that that's. I mean, that's YouTube clickbait numbers there. You might be able to farm 200 lumber an hour, and sure, you might be able to craft that into a handful of different decor items, but you're probably only getting 700 gold per piece of lumber. So, plus you're also not guaranteed to sell all of it straight away. So, I mean, yeah, I certainly wouldn't use casually and then extrapolated big numbers at the same time. It's still very good as a farm. There's no denying farming lumber is still very good gold per hour, but that's a bit extreme. But the things you flip are things that people have listed potentially way under market values, and there's enough people buying decor at the moment. I'm tending to consider it pretty valuable. Leave twisting nether alone. See you way too much there. Not me. Dark Moon Hammer. Cosmetic one. I might have that anyway. We're the only one posting one of these fountains here. 239,000 gold. Be nice if that sells, doesn't it? Not sure it will. Be a nice sale to log on to tomorrow, though, if it is the case. Bit more of a rhythm on the go now. These last few realms done. Why is it still saying something's in the mailbox on that character? I don't like the fact it's saying something in the mailbox. What did I buy? Been buying the Jade Fountains at 45, selling them at 80 a lot. Yeah. Seems the weekend was better for decor sales. Posted them yesterday morning and about 70% of them are sold. It's going to be another one of those ones where Team NA is going to make the EU look silly because nobody farms anything over on Team NA. There's going to be some absolutely crazy NA sales and results coming from decor. Do you use crafting prices for anything or just base it off lumber when posting? Neither. Neither. We've had enough days already where my posting prices are based on sale averages. If you're farming and crafting the stuff yourself, though, you do want to, of course, consider how much lumber goes into it. Yeah, the process, you might choose to be a little bit more granular with your posting prices if you're also farming the lumber and crafting the items. But now I'm switching quite aggressively into just flipping lumber when I see something that looks cheap. So at that, I'm quite quickly stopping. I genuinely don't care how much lumber it takes. I might consider it to decide whether something is actually cheap or not, but okay, nothing seems to be popping up there. Another one of those fountains is going in on this realm. I think what we'll probably find, we're nearly a week into decor existing. I think we'll find within that first week the largest amount of like focus towards it will have happened. I think there's probably a handful of people that will have just like spent a lot building their house. And I think the rate of sales will start to decline quite rapidly soon. When that does happen, you'll start to see the prices of it crash pretty fast, I reckon. Now, if Blizzard also comes out and changes the rate of lumber in any way, shape, or form, then that will also have a big effect, but we're kind of assuming that won't happen. But so I would say that if you can spend the next few days at least continuing to grind your ass off farming the lumber, there's probably a little while yet for the profits to be pretty good. But expect selling the crafted items to become harder and harder and harder every day from now on, I think. The first weekend was always going to be peak season, I think. Quick sanity check on just how much is on this realm. Few bits and pieces. Beanbags are not outrageously priced. Nothing else here that looks crazy cheap. On a sniper just in case. I might need to change the sniper operation on Decor just to pinpoint it a bit more. First 2 days was crazy, same with Saturday. Couldn't farm enough even with 5 druids. Yeah, I mean, if you've got a full-on 5-box setup flying around picking up lumber at the moment, you are making silly gold real fast. Milk it while it's whilst the going's good. Okay, patience. I love seeing different people's bank character names as well when I do these. People like trade skill. Clearly a bank character. The amount of character names you see with the word bank in them as well. I mean, I'm guilty of it. My main bank character is called Banktheus, so... Made 5 million gold, but I just find it so boring to gather, so I don't want to do it anymore. Happy I can buy midnight on 2 accounts. That's the best way to do it. Like, do it until the fun stops and then stop. I do so little farming for that exact reason, that I just don't find farming fun. Like, some people find it chill, some people find it relaxing. Me, not so much. And I've signed myself off many years ago to grinding just because it's good gold. It's fun, I'll do it, but soon as boredom kicks in, we'll move on, we'll do something else. Hang on, let's have a cheeky little look at what Decor just looks like at first glance. Yeah, look, another realm where you're basically dealing with like one single low digits of each Decor still, even a week in. There are some realms out there where you could pretty much monopolize the entire market if you really wanted to. And you'll probably also find on the realms where you've got low single-digit pieces of decor, the people that are posting them are probably people like myself that have bought it from somewhere else and are only posting once a day. You're not going to come across any form of cancel scanning or competition or anything. Sure, your sales will be low in terms of actual quantity of sales, but any sale is just going to be so easy to get. Yoink. Bankoto. Is that your main one now? Time to level 70 more alts on Remix. For some reason, I find that fun. Do it. Do it. I still need to level a couple of characters on Remix. Just haven't squeezed it into the weekly tasks. Well, even on this one server, I seem to be up about 3 mil from the last couple of weeks. Sorry, not server, account. Been a couple of weeks since I've gone through and put all the gold in the war bank. So it's nice to see I'm up a few mil. I think they're gonna let TSM stay for midnight. Oh yeah, TSM's going nowhere. TSM's got no reason to go anywhere. It doesn't do anything combat related. The considering just how much exposure all these add-on changes have had from content creators, blog posts, articles, this sort of stuff, it's kind of wild just how much people don't know about what's changing as well. That there's not a huge amount that is actually changing that's being restricted. And outside of anything that directly affects the way combat is done, is basically bulletproof from any changes. I guess it's just things like LVI and stuff that have thrown the spanner in the works a little bit. Maybe it's confused a few people to just what's going on with the add-ons. Alma, off the sofa. Down. Down. Not listening to me, are you? One down. The sofa. Hey. Having to restrict the dogs from going on the sofa because they're naughty. Alma has peed on the sofa like twice in a few days. She now doesn't get any sofa privileges for a few days. Happy that LVI is back. Life was hell trying to learn to live without it. Yeah, I'm still just very glad that I live in a land where I don't use that many sort of add-ons in general. There's a core handful of add-ons I use pretty aggressively, but I try to keep the number low. And the add-ons I do use are... Weirdly, I've switched very much into using more weak auras than anything else these days, which is the only thing that's going to hurt a little bit. There's a few silly little things, like keeping track of which of my accounts has warband access, for example, is just a simple weak aura. If that sort of stuff, I have to like figure out an add-on way to do it. It's just like, oh, that's a lot of hard work keeping an add-on up to date for a tiny little bit of text on my screen, you know? So there are some casualties. Will be a little bit of frustration with it. But I hope the transition won't be too bad. Okay, there can't be too many more realms I need to quickly do this on. Oh, literally 2. Okay. Light at the end of the tunnel. Know what the deal is with the Russian servers? Does anybody have accounts on them? I don't think there's a deal with the Russian servers. I think it's just that, you know, they exist. The issue with the Russian servers, more so than anything else, is that they only use the Russian language. And this means that if you want to go and harvest them for all their cheapness, you have to know the UI very, very well or understand the language. Is it still that Russian accounts can only play the game with gold, though? That's still the way? That's why the price of everything is like a fraction in some cases. Oh yeah, Azal Narub. Random transmoggy stuff. Zandalari Skullfire Lamp. I sold one of these for 50k literally earlier today. Do I want one at 17k? It's easier than farming the lumber. Some stuff, but not a lot. Ah, is Remix about to enter its final phase now? It must be, mustn't it? Is this going to be where they just basically open the floodgates in Remix? They muttered the words catch up, believe it or not, at the beginning of Remix. I find it hard to wonder what kind of catch up they could put in Remix now, since leveling is like 20-minute job. I guess if they can make it quicker and easier for you to gain the 999 traits. I think my main character's got like 250 verse. I really did play Remix hard at the beginning and then just completely put it down. I don't feel too bad though. I got plenty of enjoyment out of it when it was new and fresh. Sharing verse on different tunes would be nice to be able to change class. I find it really weird that they didn't add anything like that to Remix to begin with. I mean, even Mop Remix had the, you know, semi passing over of power from your cape to everything else. It was banded. You had to get to a certain point before any of it passed over, but kind of weird how this remix has been no sharing of that player power. Infinite power grind is literally a grind on every character, which was odd. Joy Buzz Joyful Wall of Trains. Own defense gadgets. Be interesting to see tomorrow if any of these bits of decor sell overnight. This is why I'm not buying in too aggressively yet. You know, dip the toe in the water. Buy a few things here and there. See how it goes. What did I buy them beanbags for? 5k a piece. Right. I think that was the last. Excuse me. I think that was the last server on this account. So I might leave it there for now. Did I post all my auctions back on Drain, or did I throw them all in the wall bank and send them somewhere else? All my other accounts have logged off by this point, haven't they? Yeah. Okay. It looks like I did. Yeah, it looks like I did send them all somewhere else. That's fine. Right. Well, I guess then I'll come back to these tomorrow. Come back to these tomorrow and see if we've had any joy sending the decor off to other homes instead, because trying to sell it on Draenor is a cancel scan fiesta, and I'm not up for a cancel scan fiesta, to be honest. I do need to run around and finish off some of the other accounts just to make sure all the auctions are listed. I'll do that a little bit later, but I'm gonna love you and leave you for now, boys and girls. Thank you all for joining. We'll be back tomorrow or Wednesday. I'm not 100% sure if there's a stream tomorrow. Keep your eyes on the Discord. Make sure you got the notification switched on, and you'll find out nice and quick time if the stream goes live at 11 a.m. tomorrow. It's still 50-50 at the moment. But enjoy your lumber farming. Enjoy your decor crafting and selling. It still seems to be pretty hot. So for whilst it is hot, take advantage of it. Get those even if it, you know, covers the cost of your long boy or covers the cost of your midnight expansion, then that's a bonus, isn't it? It's a good thing. So anyway, enjoy. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day. I will catch you all on the next stream, either tomorrow or Wednesday. Peace.